Now, hello everybody, welcome to Discussing Tabletop for April 29th, 2017. Welcome everybody. Today I have, of course, myself, once again, Tantus Dracovin, and my esteemed, I never aim at the right direction for him, co-host Joe. But joining us today are Josh, Matt, and Arielle to help us discuss the various information, news of tabletop for the week, and a couple of other interesting discussion topics related to, of course, the tabletop gaming world. Of course, everybody will have a chance to shill all your stuff, pimp it out at the end of the episode like I always do. And, but let's get into the topics of this week. First off, hey, it's Tabletop Day. I want to go over that a little bit here, a little about what we're doing, what we think about, the interesting event which has been formed over the past couple of years. Then I do want to talk a little bit about Magic. There's two topics I want to cover. I want to talk about the bands. I'm more the legacy vintage kind of guy, so I recognize those a little bit more, but I do understand the standard ban and why it was done, so we'll talk about that. Then we will, of course, move on to talking about Amonkhet. It's released today. Well, yesterday, technically, but we want to talk a little bit about that. D&D Unearthed Arcana. We'll move into that, and that's going to be all about the fact that they have racial feats. That's an interesting new one. I do want to talk about the Tequendria, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, RPG, which apparently is based upon a writer named Lord Dunsany, which I don't know anything really about, but apparently he's a pretty famous fantasy writer. So I'm like, this is an interesting one to talk about. Then I do want to talk about tabletop gaming / magic cosplay, because we have Arielle here who does that, and so she can help us introduce that, because I think I've always been interested. I enjoy cosplay, not as someone that does it because I'm not good at that sort of thing, but I can respect those that take the time and do it. And I think that the tabletop version of it seems to be something, it feels newer, over the last couple of years, while like anime and comics have been around for quite a while. So that's an interesting thing to talk about with that too, that we're expanding this kind of thing we have. And of course we do have stories from the table, and since we've got all new guests, each of them can share a story from the gaming table, however kind they want. And we'll have Gaming Sage Advice, where if you in our audience have a question for it, you can always ask it there. Our guests are free to ask one if you want to have an interesting idea for discussion question, or I will have one prepared just in case. But why don't we dive into Tabletop Day? And why don't we go clockwise from where I have. So, Arielle, why don't we start with you about what your plans are for Tabletop Day?
I forgot I muted my microphone for a second.
It's okay. It's okay.
I forgot until I woke up, but my brother-in-law actually works at a uncle's game, so I'll probably swing by and hang out with him for a little bit and buy some new Magic cards and see if there's any tabletop games to play that are new, because he always just knows ones that I should play. I'm really poor right now, but at least I can file it in the back of my mind that says buy this later.
Yes. So. I am the same way too a lot of times.
Yeah, I'll probably just be hanging out at a game store most of the day.
Okay, Matt, how about you?
I am probably going to be heading to my LGS a little bit later tonight and get down with some Legacy.
I can respect that, as that's usually what I play a lot of. It's not because I choose to, it's just because that's what my decks I build tend to be.
Yeah. And I've only got one Legacy deck right now. It's a Legacy Elves, and slowly but surely going to be building Legacy Grixis Delver. That's going to be a while, though.
Mm-hmm. Josh, how about you?
Well, I'm here in Mexico City. There's a lot of tabletop games that people play in little groups. But my plans, I'm going to check out one of the local gaming stores called Winday. They've been talking to me about teaming up with me, and I want to see what kind of games and stuff they have there and what kind of community they have. So I'll be doing that after this show.
Cool. And Joe and I will be heading off together to a store called Portal, which is the best local store we know, and it's still a half an hour away from me. And Joe's even farther from there because he's 15 minutes from me. But it's, up around Bethlehem, Allentown area. If anybody knows Pennsylvania, that's a couple hours north of Philadelphia. So that's where we're going to be hanging out. So, why don't we... I do want to briefly talk about it, fact is, because this is something that's only a couple of years old. And it was Geek and Sundry and Will Wheaton that formed these? So think about that. That they just sort of came up with an idea, and it spread. That we're all thinking about doing something for it. And that's like... Every time it's up, I'm like, well, maybe I should do something for Tabletop Day, It is Tabletop Day. Maybe I should go to a store rather than just hang out and play games with my friends, because I do that anyway. Maybe meet new people. It's just, I find it interesting it's evolved that way. What do you think?
Oh.
Anybody. Go ahead.
I just found out it was Tabletop Gaming. I just found out it was Tabletop Gaming Day yesterday when somebody mentioned it, and I had no idea. I was planning on launching my show like today, but then it got a little bit pushed back. But I think it's pretty awesome. So now I'm actually going to go to the game store instead of staying around my house working on my computer. I'm going to head out there and meet some people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, last year wasn't as great as the first year we did it. We did it the year before, and it was at Borders, and there was a huge group of people. We pretty much played, I think, for like 8 hours straight of different random games with different people. Last year, we went to 2 different places, and there was pretty much no one other than a few people that we knew were going out that we ran into. So this year, we're trying a different store, and hopefully it'll be more like the first year.
Yes, that's true.
No, I'm definitely glad that we have a day like Tabletop Day, and not just Magic or card games or even D&D, but it's definitely becoming more mainstream, or it's not exactly mainstream, but it's getting more out there. It's not looked down upon as much as it was. And sure. It's especially with websites like Twitch where you're able to stream, playing D&D or Magic or even board games. It's becoming more accepted, at least from what I can remember when I was a kid.
Definitely true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I used to kind of be on the other end of the spectrum before I really started diving into like board games and whatnot. I will admit I one time did shame people for playing Magic, and now I'm like, oh my god, I own too many Magic cards. But I think it comes to that point that there wasn't an opportunity for understanding and sharing at the time, and now there's, like you were saying, like all these Twitch streams, an actual day to just get out there. So even if you're like, well, that game looks stupid, you can actually go see it in person and have someone who knows a lot about it teach you, or even somebody who's just learning. I love playing games with kids because they always are just so excited about it, and you can learn something because they think differently than you, and you can learn something totally new about a game that you never knew until you sit down with a kid.
Yeah, it makes me think of in high school is really when I got into role playing and gaming and stuff, because we had a club there called SGS, Simulation Gaming Society. And I think it's funny, a friend of mine got me involved in it, and when we walked up to the table for me to sign up for the club, they asked me, so have you ever done any role-playing games? And I'm like, Monopoly? And they were like, yeah, we're going to put that as a no. I look back at that and go, wow, I feel like I was looking back, I feel like I was an idiot.
Same thing happened in Iowa. That's where I grew up. And back in Iowa, I remember I got the Ice Age Magic cards, just got a booster pack. I was so excited. I loved the artwork. I saw some people playing it, and it just looked like a really fun game. I learned about the mana pools and all that stuff. But most of the people that I knew that played any kind of games at lunchtime were playing Star Trek or Star Wars cards instead. So I got some of those, but I still could never fit in because they had big packs, big decks of cards, and they all had them planned out. So there's no way you could ever win, or it was really hard to get into gaming back then. I like it now though, because you actually see people game. You can go online, Roll20, or other gaming sites where you can see people play or join their games. It's a lot more accepting, I think. A lot more welcoming.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. So I think it's a good thing that we sort of evolved at this point in time, and I think it's sort of like it's allowing, hey, me to host this show here. So, hey, I can thank everybody for loving tabletop games, and especially things because, again, I'm the kind of guy that I love Magic a lot. I collected a lot, and I love Dungeons & Dragons because I've run both of those. So, hey, look at me. I'm I got my feet in so many different worlds in this community, so that's fine though, because it's a great community. All right. Well, now that we've talked a little bit about Tabletop Day, because hey, it's our celebration of it, let's talk about Magic for a little while. I do want to talk about first the new bans. Now, the big one that they start. Well, the thing is, they had an emergency ban, which is unusual for it in of itself. They banned Sensei's Divining Top in Legacy, and restricted Gitaxian Probe and Gush in Vintage. So the Sensei's Divining Top, I never used it, but I can understand why it would receive that ban. Like, the restrictions in Vintage, I can still understand them, but it's sort of like, I didn't really play with them a lot, so... And then, of course, we had the emergency ban in Standard. Matt, you talk more about Magic than I tend to do, because my channel is all about all tabletop, and I know you're sort of more focused on Magic. So why don't you start us off in this kind of thing about the bans? What do you think? Well, about
I mean, in a way, it's definitely shaken a lot of player confidence in all these bans, because not just the Felidar Guardian ban in Standard, but then there was the bans a couple months ago with Emrakul, Reflector Mage, and Smuggler's Copter, where that ruined a lot of people's decks, and a lot of people invested money in that. I mean, it ruined one of my Standard decks, and like, I don't know how much money went down the drain for it. And I mean, I've got a lot more to say than just the bans. It's like the past 2 years of Standard. Something's going on with WotC where something's just not right with it, because the past 2 years of Standard have just been really bad, and they need to be able to get something done as far as internal testing goes, because how they missed this copycat combo in the first place has a lot to say for how their process is failing them.
Yeah, and it's the same block too, because it's effectively that's what it was. It was like you're have it right next to each other. You're designing all together, and you're missing this. And the fact is, I don't play Standard really, but having discussed it with some other people, I can definitely see how like Magic, Wizards, they're talking out one side and then like doing something completely different, because they're talking about like, oh, we're more like Standard oriented now and how we're going to be doing things. But on the other side, then they do a lot of stuff which things like now adding in iconic masters, that's like you're doing stuff more legacy based too. When you're saying it's like and of course, yes, they don't seem to be treating Standard like with the love that they should, that they're claiming they want.
Well, it's a lot of it. They're trying to pump and dump all these sets. I mean, we're getting 2 master sets this year, both at premium prices for $10 a pack. I mean, what is this iconic masters even going to have? What, Shivan Dragon as a rare? I mean, do we really need another reprint of Shivan Dragon?
No, and we were talking about that the other week, that it's just ridiculous for that. So, it's signs of it.
A quick question for you all. What's the difference between a legacy pack and the new master packs? What's the difference? What's making it so controversial?
Okay, so Legacy and Vintage are basically playing with all the cards. That's the easy way of saying it. Standard is playing with the last, I think it's now like 3 blocks effectively. It kind of varies.
Yeah, it's basically the last 2 years of blocks.
So they're just wanting you to play with their new stuff and not the old stuff, pretty much.
Well, they're saying that for their big tournaments that they're having.
Okay.
But then they're putting out, because they were putting out one big like Vintage Legacy collection out each year, but at premium prices, like $10 a pack. So that was sort of like, you're like, I'm hoping I'm getting something really good out of this. And again, the only reason to do that is to have the new reprints of cards keep value. If the card was really good, as I heard someone else say, I think on Twitter there was a discussion about this, if a card is really good, it's going to keep its value regardless if it's reprinted or not. It's still only so many of those in existence, Yeah. And the only reason that they might change in price is not for the collection side, it's for the gaming side. But they're not supporting Legacy and Vintage as much, so that doesn't make sense then. And now they're doing a second one of these premium priced ones this year.
Yeah, this is a little unprecedented that they've never done 2 master sets in 1 year.
I feel like it's gonna like make it. It always seemed so like special and cool when it was like once a year. Like the twice a year just makes me like, oh, all right. Because my boyfriend plays Legacy, and he always gets really excited about the Modern Masters packs, and I just feel like this is gonna be kind of like oh, okay, here's another one.
Gotta collect them all.
We bought like a few packs, and he pulled a Liliana of the Veil, and he's like, all right, I'm done. So.
Yeah, the first one I pulled I can't remember its name. It's the one that was most expensive in the first Modern Masters.
What, Tarmogoyf?
Yeah, I pulled Tarmogoyf. So that was like, I got that, and I was like, well, I'm good to go. I think I got Vermilion Click too, and so it was like, well, I got like 2 out of the most expensive ones, so if I really want to complete my collection, because the fact is, I'm not only a player, I am an actual collector. I love to collect the cards too. And so that's why a lot of this stuff hurts me. Like, I can respect things like the Masterpiece series as being cool, but just like I said to myself, I'm never going to focus on collecting foils, I am not going to focus on collecting anything like the Masterpieces or the Invocations or the Expeditions. They're super premium cards. No. If I get one, cool. If not, I have not enough money in the world. There are more expensive cards I would rather have in the collection right now.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, basically, those are just lottery cards to me. If I pull one up, selling it right away.
The collector in me, for the ones that I have managed to like sort of pull out, says has me keep it, but that's about it. It's just more like I'm a collector, so I really kind of just don't want to part with it then. But it's more like I don't actually need it though. No, yeah, but getting back to like the fact of the bans and restrictions they did, yeah. So the Felidar Guardian one is an emergency one, and it seems like there was 2 main decks after Kaladesh, is what I've heard about, and one of them was based around the Felidar Guardian combo. It sounds like though, with Amonkhet, that the other deck, the I guess it's the vehicles type deck.
Yeah, Mardu vehicles.
Will be more countered by Amonkhet, but they didn't have a counter for this combo in Amonkhet to adapt to it. Which
no, not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't really have any kind of counter to it. I mean, first of all, it should have been banned. I mean, after Aether Revolt released, they had another ban and restrict announcement in the middle of it, and it should have been banned then, but they claimed they needed more data. And then they claimed they needed more data again this past Monday when it wasn't banned, and then 2 days later they have the emergency ban. And it's just like, how much data does Wizards need when this copycat deck did have over 40% of the meta?
Drama.
It's not understandable. And the thing is, like, I saw, like, the outrage on Twitter that they didn't ban it, and then it's, like, the reaction to, like, why didn't you do this in the first place? It's the little connections like that are very interesting. But getting back into course, because this is like a can of worms in of itself. I mean, the Sensei's Divining Top ban is an interesting one too, because I mean, I've always known it's a pretty great card. It's just I never had a deck that it really would fit very well into. And I never wanted to spend the extra money on it anyway because it's so expensive. But well,
you never wanted to play Miracles?
I never considered Miracles as like a great deck. I've looked at them and I know you could combo into them with stuff, but it's more like, because the fact is most of my Legacy or Vintage decks tend to be more multiplayer focused anyway, rather than one-on-one. So I normally build with that kind of mentality. I build under the fact that, like, most of the time when I play with my friends, we're playing in a large group and against each other. So my decks are more slow burn, I guess.
Okay.
But that's just me.
That was another ban I didn't really understand, because since Wizards is slowly, not even really supporting Legacy and definitely not Vintage, why did they even ban Sensei's Divining Top? I do get it. It's because Miracles can be a very slow deck in the wrong hands, and it is one of the more. It did take a lot of the meta of Legacy, but I mean, not by much though. It's a beatable deck.
Yeah.
If you have a miracle.
You have a miracle. And like I can understand the Gataxian Probe and the Gush because they are. I mean, the Gush is it's alternate cost cards, which are always sort of like on this sort of fringe of like people liking them and in and out of restriction. And the Gataxian Probe because it's like you can just pay 2 life right away to look at someone's hand and draw a card. I mean, that's. I can understand those, but it's also like, do we really need... Are they so ridiculous that they need to be done?
Well, you know what sucks about Gush being restricted now? That one guy that's really into vintage, Stephen Menedian, I think he's a really popular in the vintage community. He even wrote a book called Understanding Gush, and it's a book all about how to use Gush in vintage. And now that it's restricted, it's like, well, I guess he's not going to write another edition of it now.
God.
Poor guy.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting sets of choices they've made, you know? And also it's sort of like the Felidar Guardian. It's like out of the 2 of those, the combo, I understand why they didn't. Of course, they're not going to ban the Planeswalker. Well, not.
No, they're not going to ban Saheeli Ray.
Yeah,
They
so
have
it's.
a game for it. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean that's the much bigger moneymaker. Even though like getting rid of the Guardian, that like there's other decks that are really great that could have been built around it. I heard someone had been playing a cat deck using a Amonkhet because you have that sort of option. But without that,
Yeah,
I mean,
but that I know what you're talking about. That cat deck, that was just more of like some F&M jank, but I see where you're getting at, where, you know, now people can't build around it. But I mean, it is a broken card. They should have either eroded it or just never made it to begin with.
Yeah, they make plenty of cards that are unfortunately just
Filler cards?
ridiculous sometimes. All right. Well, why don't we move on, though? I do want to talk a little bit about, I mean, like, me and Joe have gone on about what we like about Amonkhet, but since we have some other new Magic people, and we didn't talk about it last week with the pre-release, and since the release, why don't we have Arielle, you, and Matt talk about it? Arielle, why don't we start with you about what you think about Amonkhet?
I kind of like was really following it at first when I started seeing all the reveals, and it's been hard because, like I said, my boyfriend just plays Legacy, so when it comes to newer sets, he kind of just doesn't really care. So it's hard to surround myself to like really delve into it. I mean, I'm mostly excited just because of the artwork and sort of where it's taken place. Egypt has always been something I have been in love with, and that's same with my sister. So her and I kind of share the excitement more for like the art and the lore and that side of things. I did a pre-release. I did do that. I almost forgot. And it was fun. I did okay. I lost, but it's so hard now to get into newer sets because I play EDH, and I know you can still add new cards and whatnot, but I feel like you get so set into like this one thing that when something else new comes out, you're kind of just like, okay, it's pretty, and you look at it. But I'm excited more on the aspect of following the storyline. I don't really think I don't even remember what they're called now because I don't even care that much. Are they the expeditions or what are they called? The pretty shiny ones?
Invocations.
Invocation.
Yeah.
At first I was like, that's cool. And then someone put it next to the masterpieces. And I was like, okay, never mind. This doesn't fit the style that, you know, Wizards has made for so long with their cards. It just feels like they copied Yu-Gi-Oh! Or something and pulled it out and was like, look, it's shiny. And I feel like they could have made it a lot better, like add a border. Like somebody literally just added like a border and it looked 6,000 times better. Or like a text that someone can read.
Yes, that's the biggest thing. Oh my gosh.
They could have been so amazing. And I would have probably collected those if they had just done like a border and a different text. I would have just bought them all and collected them and like put them in a frame. But yeah, and I love gods, so that I'm excited about because I was all about that in Theros and all that. I was collecting them, I love them, so I'm excited to see some gods back.
I mean, I'm happy that they what they were showing off. What was it? The one god Hezeret, which it looked like Hezeret the pervert because no one could quite read it. So it's dubbed as like yes. I'm like, okay, yeah, you guys caused this by having your like nearly unreadable text. Great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Matt? before I kind of add to this a little bit too again?
No, it's all right. I'm definitely excited to draft the set more. I did my first draft last night. Went 2-1, and I drafted just like a red-white aggro deck. And I gotta say, cycling, I wasn't too excited about the cycling mechanic returning, but I gotta say, in draft, that mechanic really saves your butt sometimes. Being able to discard a card and draw a card when you definitely need to dig further into your library. As far as, the artwork goes, the artwork's really good so far. The storyline of it is okay, and I talk about that on my podcast. And trying to think, as far as standard goes, now that Felidar Guardian's banned, I'm excited to see where this new set will take us. It does seem to be a lot lower powered than previous sets, especially Kaladesh and Battle for Zendikar, but we will just have to wait and see.
Yep, sounds good. All right. Yeah, my thing is, like, I do like how it looks. As me and Joe have discussed previously on episodes, the artwork that Wizards is doing for all of their products, not just Magic, but for, like, Dungeons & Dragons and stuff, great. They've just, got a lot of great artists. They've, like, put up their art game, like, so many levels. This is something that we can be like, awesome, we can get behind this, great for you guys, you've done some cool stuff with it. I guess except for the invocations, which I agree are a little, like, unusual looking in comparison, and hard to read. I'm just gonna say that, like, every time, hard to read.
Oh yeah, no, they're definitely hard to read. The artwork in them is really nice. It's
the design,
my biggest problem.
Yeah.
The design, it does take away from the artwork because the borders sort of squeeze in that artwork a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the text should have never ever happened. I don't even know how that ever got approved. That's
What are you talking about? The text?
The text for the name and the type of card, if you look at the invocations.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It should have never been approved.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was text until somebody pointed it out, and I was like, oh, there it is.
Because they have, like, little Egyptian symbols, and then the text, and then a couple more symbols that are sort of, like, hiding it in the middle of there. That's just unnecessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrible. Especially for new players, if they pull one, they're not going to know what they even pulled.
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah, I thought it was all Egyptian writing when I first looked at it, that Matt pointed out, no, there's words there. I'm like, where?
I'm seeing it now, actually.
And they do it in the type, too. It's sort of like, what type of card am I playing?
I think it was an interesting idea, but it did not work out as well as I think they were thinking it was going to.
Yeah.
At least they didn't do it for the description as well, because that would have been really annoying.
Oh my gosh, I would have just threw the cards away.
And it's like, the only way you can tell its color is by, like, stripes on the side of the card. And that's it.
Yeah,
it's sort
that's
of like,
true, yeah.
It's... Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that until you said that.
Yeah. There's, like, no way of telling what color card it is otherwise. It's sort of like...
I thought they were just, like, artifact kind of things.
I'm actually reading, right as you guys are talking, I'm discovering all these things about the cards as I look on their website.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had no idea there was actually writing there. I thought it was like, it's like one of those, like, little things you used to look at when you were a kid and trying to see the picture inside of it.
Yes.
Yeah,
oh my
see?
God.
It's just bad.
Yeah. It's just,
Break
I
the
don't know.
code.
Yeah, really it is. Alright, though. Enough complaining about some of the stuff that Wizards is doing, because, I mean, they don't do all bad stuff, they just make some pretty terrible choices, especially apparently on the Magic end. But let's talk Dungeons & Dragons a little bit now, because the last Unearthed Arcana for the season, end of April, end of their Unearthed Arcana season, is out. For those of you in the audience that are new to Unearthed Arcana is basically playtest material that Wizards puts out for us to see. So we don't have to just buy the books to, like, get all the information. Granted, they're like, this is playtest. It's not completely done. It'll probably be different when we print it in a book, if and when this happens. But for players, we can try it out, and it's up to, Dungeon Masters to approve it or not. So, alright, they put out feats for races. We talked about feats a bunch last week because they put out a feats for skills, which was really cool. Now they've done it for races, which sounds really cool. Josh, have you had a chance to look it over then?
I'm looking at it right now. I looked at it last night. I pretty much got everything for we're going to be talking about today, and I like our unearthed arcana. I love what they're doing with the arcanas and releasing it. And they have one for each race, which is really good because some of the races can be kind of boring or hard to play. For example, Tiefling or Dragonborn, they're still kind of new, not always accepted. It's hard to put flavor into them, but I like these racial feats because they're actually letting you put a little bit more flavor into your character by having racial feats that reflect who you are. Rather than just having to roleplay it, you have feats that reflect that and have skill sets or things like that that reflect, where your character comes from.
Yeah, like for the Dragonborn, you can get wings. You can fly. I mean, that's just like a really cool thing. It's just like all of a sudden, it's like I take a feat, I fly. Granted, you're gonna have to be. I
sprout wings.
Yes. Granted, you're gonna be 4th level for that, but
I think that's gonna be the most controversial one, to be honest. Out of all of these, I think this Dragon Wings, because it's usually just a special type of character class that can do that, or the ones that are not always playable. So if somebody can actually fly really early levels, it can unbalance the game.
So I think that's the one that's going to probably be the most controversial. Other ones I can understand pretty well, like Bountiful Luck for a halfling, that you can basically give some of your halfling luck to an ally. That's kind of cool if they're within 30 feet. Because they already can do it for themselves, I mean. Yeah, go ahead, Joe, then.
I was going to say, I think Dwarf, the Grudge Bearer, is interesting. You basically get ranger power. you basically get a favored enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Grudge Bearer. But, I mean, it's still, I think it's still not the same, ...
No, I don't think it's exactly the same, but it's similar is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's very similar, yes.
But I do like that all the smaller races can get squat nimbleness.
Yeah, I love this stuff. I play an undead revenant sorcerer elf in one of our campaigns. So none of these really helped me in that way. And then in the other one, I play a Kenku cleric. So this doesn't help either, but
but it's the fact you could have a character that could have it.
Yeah, my boyfriend plays a dwarf, and I was reading the dwarf stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna love this stuff, especially like the Grudge Bearer. He's definitely gonna take that in for sure.
Yeah.
But I was just trying to think. I don't think we have any of the other. We don't have a human or a tiefling or any of the other ones in the campaign, so it mostly just helps my boyfriend out. But you know what? That's fine.
Did you notice with the Grudge Bearer, they don't allow you to do actual races such as playable races? They don't allow you to have a grudge against elves, for example, or against humans, which I thought was a little interesting, but of course I can understand with the balance. What do y'all think about that?
My first thought was like, oh, someone's going to hate me because my character's kind of a jerk. But then I was like, no, they can't hate me, so that's good. But I feel like it would just cause like...
they could because you're undead.
Shoot. That's fair. We'll just... Yep. Okay, him and I are friends. He's the only one that likes me, so we're fine there. But yeah, I feel like it could have caused a lot of like undue stress and like just an unending like conflict in a campaign that would just drag on and on if there was hatred towards like a type of character in your party, and it could be it could be a hard hurdle to overcome too if it was like a lawful good human cleric that heals you all the time and you're like, no, I hate you. I don't want your healing power. Don't give it to me. You're just gonna die.
It's like it's more racism, I suppose, in the world, depending on if you want to play it or not. I think it goes back to the not episode, but Dungeons and Dragons 3.
Yeah.
The third edition. That's the word I was looking for. Edition.
Yeah.
It kind of reflects back to that. That's what I'm thinking of when I see these. I'm thinking, oh, they're trying to expand the options you have, just like third edition did for you.
Actually, it does say if you look at it, you can choose 2 races of humanoid.
But look at what they say.
Such as gnolls or orcs, but that would also be humans. You could choose humans or elves or something as an alternative thing.
Oh, but you could do 2 of them, so you could be like, I hate humans and elves.
Yes. But they usually do. I mean, some of them actually really, really have grudges against them because they're uppity or they do their things and they don't really they look down the dwarves, so they're like, hey,
Yeah.
okay.
Of course, if you did human and elves, would you really hate half elves then?
Oh my God, yes.
That's
My
like
hate is
that's like a triple thing right there. You know, I get triple benefits against you now.
Half elves. No, yeah, I do agree with you that they are bringing back some of the options of 3rd edition without feeling like they're bringing out some of the craziness of 3rd edition that it got to. Like when last week they did the skills for feats, or feats for skills.
Like
Before, yeah, I loved those, you know, because it's sort of like, it always felt like when you had a skill-related feat, it kind of sucked. Unless you're particularly, like, focusing on that skill to no end, because it's only giving you, like, a bonus. These gave you bonuses for, like, extra proficiency bonus, or proficiency if you didn't have it, ability score up, and, oh, hey, some kind of special new thing you can do with this skill. It's maybe not something major, but hey, it's something interesting. And, I mean, these definitely, a lot of them, without going through all of them, they definitely have some very interesting ones. Like, I like the halfling ones, just because I always liked the halfling luck ability. It's just something I always enjoyed.
I love Wonder Maker for rock gnomes.
Yes, I know you do, because you like playing the Tinker Gnome.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The critter friend, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Where you can talk to any animals as if you're a special type. If you're like a forest gnome, you have to be a forest gnome, but you can talk to any of the animals and be friendly.
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting too, because it's like, I feel like definitely, again, it's like with most campaigns, you know, you put things on your character as it fits, but definitely like definitely the critter one would be
Elven
cool.
accuracy is awesome.
Which one?
Elven accuracy.
Elven
Whenever
accuracy.
you have advantage on an attack roll, you can re-roll one of the dice once.
Yeah, I was
So you
just reading
basically get 3 dice when you have advantage.
That's pretty. Yeah, it sounds like an elf though. I mean, it sounds like Legolas. You know, you just like choo choo choo, just shooting off. This is like pretty much with a blaster, but it was just an arrow that did just as much destruction.
Yep. I do like the fact that it also doesn't particularly mention bows, so you could be like, haha, sword to the face. Incredibly accurate, too.
Yes.
My aim.
Did anyone check out the first one that's on the list, Barbed Hide by the Tiefling? I thought that really reminded me of Hellraiser.
Wow. Okay, yeah, thanks, Olaran.
Oh my
Thanks, Ollie. Ollie has pointed out to me Fey teleportation, which as an elf, you gain Misty Step once per short/long rest, without expending a spell slot.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
That's really good.
It's good, but it's not like overpowerful.
No, I guess because you have to rest in between it, but it still is like you can
You get a
cast-
free spell. Yeah, you get a free minor teleport.
Yeah, that's pretty good. No, I think they've been doing some great things, and I like these a lot too. Definitely, I'd like to see. I'm hoping that a lot of this unearthed economy and the fact their season's ending means they're planning some kind of book with a bunch of this material. We'll see, though.
Yes. Fingers knossed. We've been saying that for a little bit, and hopefully that's going to be what it is.
Yes. But they definitely knock it out of the park with all this cool stuff that they put out. I think that.
Loving it, you can actually access it right away instead of having to wait.
Yes, it's free stuff that you can use. And again, it's sort of like, they do warn you, not all the kinks are moved out of it. Again, like as we were saying, like the dragon wings for Dragonborn might not be very balanced overall. ... Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But
I think it's really great that they've expanded that, because we started playing, I think we were playing back in 3rd, and it's kind of cool to see the difference. And I wasn't really paying as much attention to all the unearthed arcana until recently, when my sister was like, oh, you should check out all of these characters you can play. And we saw the Kenku, and then they have the Tabaxi, which is like a giant kitty cat. And I love that one of the things on it that you can pick is it literally it has like a toy it carries around that it feels really attached to. I was like, oh my god, it's like a cat. Like, it's literally like a giant cat. And then I was looking at the cleric feats that they added, or the feats, the
Spells?
domains.
Oh,
The
domains, yeah.
And they added one that was more. It wasn't like evil. And I have it, and now I can't remember what it's called.
Mhm.
But it was the one where you like value the dead, and you don't. If somebody it's their time to die, like you let them die. But if it's not their time to die, then you want to save them. And so I picked that one, and my party's like, this could be really bad later because if someone's dying, and I'm like, no, it's their time. They'd be like, no, we need this person. So
My favorite's my favorite's still the pedophile.
Oh my God! No, God. Okay.
The what?
Okay, so in a previous Unearthed Arcana, they put out starter spells, and one of them was like you could
As paladin.
a paladin or a cleric could cast this, but we were focusing on paladin. It
I thought it
was
specifically under a paladin thing.
no, it wasn't just paladin. Clerics could do it too. You could
Okay.
officiate certain things, like officiate a marriage. You know, one of them was you could officiate a coming of age ceremony for a young boy or young child. You know, you're coming of age.
And for the next 24 hours, they're an adult. So you touch a child and you make them an adult.
Oh God.
I think you guys are looking into this a little bit too much. Usually there's some kind of
agree.
And then you
You see how this can go really haywire in any game.
We lost either
Just like
voice for a while.
A little bit, like, you know,
anybody
things suddenly
hear
get
me?
uncomfortable. Like, oh, what did we just talk about? You know, maybe we should turn down the game for
Hello?
a few more weeks.
Is my mic off?
No, we can hear you.
No.
I can hear you.
Can't hear anybody.
We can hear you.
Is my mic off?
Yes, it's off.
Or I'm sorry, I spelled that wrong. Great.
Which one are you trying
Anybody?
to
Wait.
Unearthed Arcana, or...
I can't hear anybody.
Oh no.
I think his...
Okay, everybody, wait. Okay, wait. Joe, wait.
So now that we're the silent musketeers.
Folks, that's not gonna close. Screw that.
Everybody, welcome to the silent disco. So, headphones and just start dancing.
All right, everybody, I'm gonna pause the stream for a second. Give me a second here. Wait. Yes.